Hello dear friends, this is Pride of Sports. Dear friends, I suggest you watch the video to the end to find out the latest and hottest sports news. Lightweight Islam Makhachev believes that Charles Oliveira is not confident ahead of UFC 280. Israel Adesanya doesn't think the matchup between Robert Whittaker and Marvin Vettori is as good as many think. Jake Paul is now the underdog for the upcoming Anderson-Silva fight, rumored to be after he became the betting favorite. If this is your first time on my channel, subscribe to the channel and click on the bell. Islam Makhachev states Charles Oliveira doesn't believe he can win at UFC 280. The two lightweights are set to square off in October with gold on the line. The Brazilian famously lost his titles back on the scale in May. Oliveira missed weight for his UFC 274 headliner against Justin Gaethje and was stripped of his championship. Booking UFC 280 was not what the former champion wanted. Oliveira admitted that he prefers the fight with Conor McGregor to the fight with the Russian. Later, the 32-year-old athlete said that he agreed to fight Makhachev only for the sake of the duel with the Notorious. Islam Makhachev regards Charles Oliveira's comments as a manifestation of distrust. In an interview with ESPN MMA's Brett Okamoto, the lightweight said the Brazilian was scared to compete at UFC 280. The Russian said that his faith comes from the fact that the former champion refused to call him. Instead, Oliveira set his sights on a fight with Conor McGregor. According to Makhachev, this indicates self-doubt before the title fight. He also believes that he is a poor matchup for Oliveira and the rest of the division. I don't think he believes he can win, Makhachev said. Because, when he beat Michael Chandler, he never said my name, He calls Dustin Poirier but never says my name. Nate Diaz, he called from Nate Diaz. He contacted Conor McGregor many times but never once mentioned my name. I'm a terrible fight for everyone there, added Makhachev. Everyone knows it. What do you think of Islam Makhachev's comments? Do you think he will beat Charles Oliveira? Israel Adesanya explains why he's not excited for Robert Whittaker versus Marvin Vettori at UFC Paris. I know who's going to win. Whittaker and Vettori are set to meet in the co-main event of UFC Paris on Saturday in a pivotal fight for both men's careers. Although both Whittaker and Vettori are 0-2 against the middleweight champion Adesanya, the winner of the fight will remain a top contender while the loser could become a gatekeeper. However, for Adesanya, he believes this fight is rather one-sided and expects Whittaker to win with ease. The co-main, I'm excited for as well. Actually I'm not, Adesanya said on the Blockamoto and Oscar show. I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to bullshit you guys and give you the PC answers. I'm not excited for the co-main. I'll watch it, I know who's going to win, Rob's going to win, that's why it's not exciting for me. When asked if beating both of them and the winner not factoring into the title shot had anything to do with it, Israel Adesanya said that isn't the case. Instead, he says it's just due to the fact he believes Robert Whittaker beats Marvin Vettori as he doesn't see a path to victory for the Italian. I know who's going to win, Adesanya said. For me, it's like maybe on the day, I might get a little tickle, but at the moment I know who's going to win that fight, maybe 80% sure who's going to win that fight. It doesn't tickle my balls. Whittaker is the betting favorite heading into the fight, so the oddsmakers and public are agreeing with Adesanya in thinking he wins. If he does win at UFC Paris, it's also uncertain what would be next for either of them. What do you make of Israel Adesanya saying he isn't excited for Robert Whittaker versus Marvin Vettori at UFC Paris? Jake Paul now the betting underdog against Anderson-Silva after opening as a sizable favorite. On Monday evening, news surfaced that Paul and Silva have agreed to headline a Showtime boxing pay-per-view on October 29th. It is a massive fight and a big step up in competition for Paul, who hasn't fought since he knocked out Tyron Woodley last December. Although Silva is another former UFC fighter, he has boxing experience and is coming off a KO win over Tito Ortiz and defeated Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. by decision in his first fight since leaving the UFC. With that, it appears the betting public likes him to defeat Paul, as the YouTuber is the betting underdog after opening up as a betting favorite a few months ago when this fight was rumored. It also isn't the first time that Paul is an underdog, as he was the betting underdog for his fight against Tommy Fury before that fight was called off. Jake Paul is coming off a KO win over Tyron Woodley last December, which served as a rematch after he edged out a split decision win in August. Paul was supposed to face Tommy Fury and Hazem Rahman Jr. this year, but both fights never came to fruition. In his boxing career, Paul also holds a TKO win over Ben Askren, a KO win over Nate Robinson, and a TKO win over fellow YouTuber Nesengib in his debut. Anderson Silva has transitioned into boxing following his release from the UFC. Silva lost his pro boxing debut in 1998 and then picked up his first win in 2005 before focusing on MMA. After ending his MMA career, he scored a decision win over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. and then knocked out Tito Ortiz last September. Who would you bet on, Jake Paul or Anderson Silva?